We finished the story yesterday, but I've still got the epilogue. And just before, this is the end of Ouch, Twisted Dragon's Tale, but just before the epilogue, there's a chapter called The Old Man in the Hole. Some hours later, an old man was sitting in a hole of his own making. He had heard the sounds of the volcano exploding far in the distance, and a distant thunderstorm, but of course he could not see what was happening. This is old Wrinkly, who tried to interfere with fate. Never a good plan. He sat in the darkness, praying that it would be all right. Please let it be all right. Please let it be all right. Please let it be all right. For hours he sat quietly. And then, to his relief, the heads of a smiling man and a smiling boy appeared in the circle of blue. The boy said, "You can come up now, Grandpa. I told you that I would make it all right." "I knew you would," said the old man, at last able to speak. "At least, I think I did." And the boy helped him up the ladder and into the light. And now we have the epilogue. By Hiccup Horrendous had it the third, the last of the great Viking heroes. Human hearts are not made out of stone, thank Thor. They can break and heal and beat again. I never spoke to my mother about Humongously Hotshot, and she never once mentioned his name. I watched her very closely when she returned from her quest, and my father was bustling all round her, chattering excitedly all about the volcano and how the barbaric archipelago was nearly wiped off the planet by those wretched exterminating thingamies. "You'd have given them what for, Valley, my darling? Oh my goodness, we could have done with your help, but we remember what you always say, never surrender." And we didn't, did we, Hiccup? My father got to the bit about how Humongous the hero had appeared out of nowhere after all these years, when everybody thought he was dead, just at exactly the right moment to save the life of her only son. My mother bent down very quickly to adjust the leg straps on her armour. She was down there for quite a while adjusting those leg straps, but when she straightened up again, her face, though a little red, was perfectly calm, and she smiled at my father and kissed him on the cheek, and she said, "You're quite right, Stirk, my dear. Never surrender. Shall we go in for dinner?" Who knows what she felt that long, long time ago when Humongous first failed to come back from his quest, whether she too used to watch from her window out to the sea, yearning and yearning, waiting and waiting for him to come sailing back to her. And he never came. Many, many years later, when I was a tall, grown-up man and my mother was an elderly woman, my mother was climbing onto her riding dragon, getting ready to go off on yet another of her quests. And this was a bit trickier for her now, because despite being a grandmother, she still insisted on wearing full body armour. She wobbled onto the dragon's back, creaking horribly at the joints, with two poor warriors trying to assist her, and with her snapping at them, "I don't need your help. I'm perfectly capable of climbing up here on my own." Did I dream it? Or as she swung unsteadily upwards, did something really come loose from around her neck and drop for a moment into the sunlight? Did it catch a sunray and wink at me? One small red wink. I think I saw the ruby heartstone hanging round her neck on a fine golden chain. It was only for a second, that wink of her heart that she normally kept so guarded, because as soon as she got herself settled on the dragon, she picked up whatever it was and stuffed it back inside her armour again. Then she pulled down her visor so that her lined old woman face disappeared, and all you could see peering out was her eyes. Time had not aged those eyes. They were the same bright blue that once gazed out at Humongous all those many years ago. "Yoicks!" my mother cried out in youthful excitement, anticipating the fun of the quest ahead, and she kicked her dragon's flanks with her heels and flew off into the heavens. I watched her go, a tall, armoured figure, sitting upright on her dragon, her white hair flowing out from under her helmet, her sword still steady in her hand, getting smaller and smaller until she disappeared into the clouds entirely, and all I could hear, carried to me on the wind, was the last echoes of her voice crying out, "Into the battle!" I never saw her again. She was killed on the battlefield that very afternoon, 76 years old, and still fighting. She was a great hero, my mother. And then the bracelet. I set my mother's half of the ruby heartstone in the other eye of the dragon on the bracelet. So now both halves of the stone are together again. I did wonder whether I should wear something that had been worn so long by Alvin himself. But then I thought, my fate and Alvin's fate have been so entwined around each other in an endless tangled knot that it is impossible to pick them apart. If your oven had not stolen Humongus's heartstone, the hearts of Valhallarama and Humongus would never have been broken. My mother would never have married my father. And I, the hiccup, the accident, would never have been born. And by a curious, unexpected turn of fate, I, Hiccup, also just happened to be Alvin's nemesis. So that all that Alvin's busy evil-doing achieved was the accidental creation of his own downfall. You see how good and evil are so twisted together, like a golden dragon bracelet sneaking brightly about a person's arm. A dragon bracelet that Hiccup created out of misplaced love and gratitude in the hellish nightmare of the lava-lout jail forges is exquisitely made, for he was a far better goldsmith than he was a singer. It curls around my arm, its shining wings folded back as if about to unfurl and take off, and now that its ruby's eyes are set into the gold, you cannot see their tear shape, so they seem to be laughing rather than crying. It is a constant reminder to me of the human ability to create something beautiful even when things are at their darkest. I have worn that bracelet every day of my life. There, that's the dragon bracelet. Surely, that was the last we shall see of Alvin the Treacherous. I mean, my goodness, surely. But surely even Alvin couldn't come back to life through the burning waters of the Earth's core. Or could he? I have this funny feeling that we may be seeing more of this undefeatable villain. Watch out for the next volume of Hiccup's memoirs, A Hero's Guide to Deadly Dragons. Now, the prophecy of the king's lost things. You see, Hiccup has found the ruby heartstone. He now has 6 of the king's lost things. Will he discover them all? Find out in his next adventure, A Hero's Guide to Deadly Dragons. So I'll be reading that one, but maybe not immediately because I'm just about to go on holiday for a little bit. So, but I'll read it when I come back from holiday. Have a lovely summer, everybody.